we're going to start off by talking to Sarah in Washington. Sarah, you're live on Skeptic
Hi,
Generation.
remember me? I used to
Hey!
be on your dean's list.
Yes! Oh my gosh! Hey, Sarah!
Hey,
How's it going? What do you want to talk about today?
I had a question about religion and like the good ideas that some religions have,
Mm-hmm.
and
hmm
if it's okay to adopt ideals taught by religion so long as it aligns with my own morality.
Could you give us an example?
Jesus says, "Love thy neighbor," stuff like that, or the Buddha says, to try and focus in on, your own emotions and stuff and try to achieve nirvana, if you will, or perhaps wish good karma on people.
Okay. Well, so I think that being kind to each other is definitely something that has been co-opted by religion and has been like I think a lot of religions have kind of claimed that that's where it comes from is the religious space. But I think that to give them credit would be to, I don't know. The more important thing to me is that we're being kind to each other. So like, absolutely, I think you should do that. But I don't think we should be giving them credit. What do you think, Elliot?
Yeah, I've heard this a lot, Sarah. And I mean, first off, I want to say, don't put such restrictions on yourself, and don't be so worried if you find something, some small ideal that exists in Christianity that's like, hey, that's actually good, because as you kind of already said, you're using a separate system. You're using an outside morality other than just the Bible, to make these determinations as to whether or not these, conclusions or ideas are good, right? Love thy neighbor is a good ideal, not because Jesus said it or because there's some afterlife or whatever. It's because of the demonstration of harm or suffering or the reduction of that, right? And that's awesome that you see that. So definitely don't be bummed out like, oh man, this thing's from Hinduism, like I don't know if I should take it. It's like, no, of course, if it's a good ideal. But yeah, I would just totally second what Eric said and say that what I have found more often than not, and maybe every single time, that's a bit of an intense statement, but seriously, it feels like pretty much every time I go looking into a religion for good stuff, that good stuff is actually found outside of the religions, right? And the religion ends up bringing this extra baggage that isn't necessary. Because again, the love thy neighbor thing on its face is great. Yeah, be kind to people. But if you're being kind to people because there's some God that forces you to do it, otherwise he's going to torture you, you see, it's like, oh, that's bad, right?
Exactly.
That's the baggage that comes with this belief from the religion.
And then I was also kind of curious about Buddhism specifically, because it is like an atheistic religion. The only thing I couldn't get behind is that all emotions are pain. I'm not sure what that means exactly. But things, in attempts to, as I go through my own psychological therapy, as I'm coming out of these things and traumas in life, and I'm finding if I take upon some of these practices like meditation or ways to achieve nirvana, if you will, I don't think that there is going to be a life after this one, that sort of stuff. But I just wonder, about what your take is on that one also, because they don't really have a deity either.
Yeah, I have friends who, for years have participated in various Buddhist themed or, these rituals have the origins in Buddhism of some kind, right? But they aren't expressly talking about anything supernatural or anything. But some of my friends participate in these, Buddhist blessing ceremonies. And I'm using air quotes here because they would tell me, hey man, I don't think anything's happening to this food. Like, I don't think anything magical's going into it or anything about the food is changing or anything. But what it does is it gives me a few seconds right before I eat my meal to just be conscious of where I am and how I got here. And it gives you that just deep breath in, deep breath out kind of moment. And like, there's nothing wrong with that stuff. Don't ever feel like, oh my gosh, man, I'm meditating. Does that mean I'm religious? Oh no. Like, no. The rituals oftentimes for me are not the biggest thing that I push back on. You know, the gathering together in community and singing songs and, you know, greeting each other and having a snack. That's great. That's all good stuff, you know? It's when they start adding the unsubstantiated claims on top of it, right? Of the supernatural and stuff. Yeah. That's where I really get the problem. And so if you're saying, hey, look, sitting around, focusing on my breath, trying to clear my head for a while, once a day or once a week or whatever, is just really beneficial for me in all these ways. And I don't really think I'm gonna like be born again as a snake or some, I don't know, eagle or something. I don't know how it works. But if that's where you're coming from, yeah, I don't see any problems with it for sure. It sounds like it's helping you.
Yeah, it definitely does. I just kind of like trying to make sense between the scientific and the metaphysical stuff, the hokey stuff, if you will, to be, you know, a bit more blunt. Like, I'm the only person that would go to a rock show because I like the rocks, not because I believe they have any, you know, healing powers or anything.
Trust me, like, Sarah, I'd be right there with you. I have more rocks than I know what to do with. If rocks had powers, I have ingested so much rock dust at this point, I should be Superman.
Is this just like a thing? I had a rock collection growing up. I was the exact same. Is that just like a thing?
I don't know. Rocks are cool, man. Like, I don't know why anybody disagrees with that. They're amazing.
I'm sorry.
I have pyrite and bismuth and all sorts of fun minerals, but do I think it's going to cure cancer? No.
No.
Is it something that like calms me down when I look at the rainbow colors and the even patterns, and I'm like, that? There's something rooted in science where I think where some of this woo comes from. Oh. There's like some intuition behind the humanity of it. You know, they create this woo around the science, and they need to get back to the science.
I especially with bismuth, I think, like, it's just so beautifully like square, the geometric figures that it makes we're getting way off base. But I no, all good. I do kind of want to push back though, just a little bit, because when you say it's an atheistic religion, do you need to have a god to have a theism? You know, the idea of like deifying. Can you hear me? Hello, Sarah, can you hear me okay?
Oh, now I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
couldn't hear the last few seconds of what you said.
No worries. So I was saying the kind of deification of somebody who's achieved nirvana or some state of perfection. I would consider, you know, that and raising them up, you know, as some kind of superhuman would definitely count as a religious standpoint. Also, the view that there is life after death, that there is a world where, you know, you get to come back again, like that whole cycle, I think is a religious viewpoint. And so ontologically, I think that while you may find use in it, I would definitely draw a line there and say, I've found use in this thing, but that doesn't lend any credibility to the supernatural claims, because it still does make supernatural claims. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of have to put up with that when I go to like guided yoga classes. And people want you to align your chakras or are super, you know, just really, really wooey with your relationship to the earth and you flowing into and out of things. It's just, I don't know. It feels really icky. especially when everyone there is just white as driven snow, which I'm learning in Portland is just a thing. But
I've been to Portland once. It's a mess right now. But anyway, so you're talking about like the chakras and dissolving into the earth. When I go through that in like those kinds of things, my ADHD brain goes, okay, let's imagine we actually are for a second, and then it shuts off. I'm like, thank you for shutting off for a minute.
Well, and I mean, it's fun to pretend, but the thing is, they're not pretending. You know?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
And because there is so much of that mix, right? Because there is so much of that overlap, a lot of places where this Venn diagram looks a hell of a lot more like a circle. That's why oftentimes you'll find me kind of staying away from some of those things and just really trying to go a route of a more secular concept for it. Again, like, you know, sitting around, taking stock of your breath and you know, where you are in the moment and stuff. That is 100% secular. You don't need any religious mumbo jumbo whatsoever, right? You can totally just do that, just being a person. No problem there. I love it. When we start going into the chakras and the past live regression things and all that, it's like, oh man, this is not only is this not well founded, right? But it actually has a much greater potential of causing harm to people. And so that's why I get really wary of it, because again, the meditation itself, not really going to be the thing that leads to the harm. What's going to lead to the harm are these ideals that make people think things are real when we don't have good reason to, or just, you know, helps them develop an epistemology that isn't sound, right? Because we know the more that we accept conclusions for bad reasons, the more likely we are to do that in other scenarios too. And so if it was my perfect world, we'd just get rid of all of those bad methodologies and just focus on the stuff that is demonstrable, you know, which again, meditation is. We do have good evidence to support the fact that meditating can be really beneficial for people. At just, you know, keep all the woo-woo out of it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Sarah, it's really good to hear from you. I know it's been a really long time. But yeah, being here after a year off and then getting kind of my feet under me, I'm just blown away by the amount of kindness and support that has come this way. So thank you for sticking around and thank you for coming back.
Yeah, and maybe I can't come back on the dean's list anymore, but you know, I'm still coming back in patron in some form. So just want to say congratulations on coming back. You made it. And congratulations on moving to West Coast, Best Coast. Also
East Coast, Beast Coast, baby. Calm down now.
Okay, well, I'm from East Coast. I understand.
I'm just joking with you. I don't care.
Like, I'm from West Virginia, and I'm probably the only
nice
atheist leftist to come out of West Virginia. But
nice,
you know, so really glad that you guys are, you know, on this journey here, you and V, and everybody's doing good. So maybe come up to Seattle sometime, you know, hang
absolutely.
out. Seattle Atheist Church, come up and see us, whatever. But just wanted to say thank you so much for continuing this on. You guys are Eric, I have followed you since literally the beginning of your going on live. I'm not kidding.
I'm so sorry.
You guys have been a really positive example of what it means to be, you know, an atheist talking to theists instead of foaming at the mouth militant stuff, which is slightly entertaining, but it gets a little tiresome after a while and it ultimately goes nowhere. So I really want to see good things come from this show because I believe in you guys.
Well, thank you so much. That means the world to me. And I'm really glad. I'm really glad that, you know, we can get the ball rolling on modeling, you know, the kind of conversations that we want to see. And I am happy to see it happening in other places because, you know, I see Elliot doing it in other shows. And it's just, it feels good. Let's keep that rolling. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, take care.
You too.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, I definitely have used you and Ethan Michael and folks like y'all just to help guide the way that I have these difficult conversations, because I do believe that compassion in these tough conversations is what actually makes progress, what actually gets people on the other side to stop seeing you as an outsider, as an other, and instead see you as a human being. And once you really establish that, it's amazing how some of the most hot button, difficult conversations can be some of the most productive and learned conversations you have. So it's my favorite way to do it. So
I'm glad, and not to mention the way. Also, what you were saying before is just unlikely friendships. People you find that you are calling to say happy birthday on their birthday to them, and you never would have imagined you would have done that with somebody. So I'm really, really happy to see it. I saw in the comments before we get into the next caller, somebody had asked if you had defected from the ACA shows, as if it's verboten to talk about it.
Sure.
I'm really, really happy that you're representing these conversations in this way on those shows. Man. And I'm sad that I wasn't on Talk Heathen to welcome you on. But you definitely, for whatever it's worth, if it's worth anything at all, you have my blessing,
Thank you.
And I'm glad that you're doing it. And I'm glad that, I think that the idea that one person can own an approach, if somebody like, it might be my face, it might be my voice, find those people that resonate with you, and the fact that you're also bringing that to the table is just fantastic. And plus you have a really sweet sense of humor, and there's a lot to you that is just not in me that I absolutely adore seeing. So I'm glad you're here, man. Yeah,
I really do appreciate that. And I have had this view for a while, which is just I really believe there is so much space out there for so many people right now. We have such an intense fight on our side, as non-believers, as skeptics, as secular-minded folks, science-minded folks. And so with that, I am just thrilled to see more and more super awesome people inhabiting this space. And again, we are seeing a lot more of that compassionate conversation. And I definitely think you were a big part of that, man. I think you helped push a lot of people into seeing that you can have this conversation in a different way. Yeah. And it just means that I just keep meeting these really, really cool people. I met this guy the other day. I'm just going to shout him out real quick. Durante Lamar. He was a mega church pastor for years. He's now an atheist. He has a super cool story, and he's just this super nice guy. And I'm just thrilled because even 3 years ago, when I first started helping out places and whatever, there wasn't as many people, and that number keeps growing. I mean, we are taking over the world here. Us atheists are going to be running the show here shortly. Get on board. We are coming.
I hope so. And it's not even so much we are coming. It's we're bringing it to our side. We're
right.
for good reasons. We're and through good conversations. And no, I'm right there with you.